My name is Jacob Crowe, and welcome to the Crow's Perch. From atop my perch, we delve into the latest RPG horror stories, and today, we have several stories to cover. So buckle in, little burbs, as we go between two different stories. The first of which, by user Skullbearer, is about their adventures in a Fallout 5th Edition campaign. So without further ado, let's gather up a murder and get right into this first story. I've posted a few times on Reddit in the past about the Fallout 5th Edition campaign I'm in, but this is the first time something rose to r/RPG horror stories level.
So hold up now, and listen to the Edgelord of the Wasteland, Mr. Pizza Cutter, who lasted less than one session, and was the first time I've seen a DM boot someone out mid-game. Patrolling r/RPG horror stories will make you wish for a nuclear winter.
So dude comes in to fill a slot because the game does have a few revolving door slots. Dude sounds okay at first, very cookie cutter,
my character wanders the wastes, helping people.
but sounds fine. Makes a Kensai monk with a focus on firearms. We're playing the plot of Fallout New Vegas and have just met with the Great Khans. DM describes this dude coming to meet us on the road. Okay, cool. We meet and say hi, and my character asks him what brought him to the Mojave.
I have business with Caesar's Legion.
I quickly point out that our party is seriously opposed to the Legion, and sounding friendly to them is not going to go down well. Instead of explaining, Pizza Cutter intones,
I said what I said.
okay then, DM quickly gets him to explain that he's actually trying to fight the Legion. So the tension is diffused, and we welcome the guy on board. His quest is to find a girl from a village who had been kidnapped by the Legion. Cool, we can do that. We're a pretty hardcore RP party, so we start in character RP. My character is a child of Adam, and asks Pizza Cutter if he'd heard of his church.
There is no God but the God of war.
I bounce off this into a spiel about Adam, that has the other characters rolling their eyes and excusing me. Ignore him. He's always like this. Pizza Cutter repeats in graveyard tones,
There is no God but the God of war.
okay then. Pizza Cutter then proceeds to say nothing for most of the session, giving very brief answers whenever we ask him any questions and not joining in with the roleplay. We get to a trading post to pick up a returning player and get some information about where this girl might be, and discuss maybe doing some trade before heading out.
No, we go now. I need to find this girl.
Demands Pizza Cutter. Okay, but we're only going to be trading for a few minutes.
No, we go now.
Okay then. We get to the place we were directed to. Ask Pizza Cutter what he wants to do.
I go in, demand the girl, and shoot everyone.
Wait. If they have the girl, they'll use her as a hostage.
I go in, demand the girl, and shoot everyone. Okay then.
Me and the Bard quickly decide a different plan, involving him pretending to be a slave trader, while the rest of us try and come in through the back and free the slaves during his distraction. Turns out these people weren't even slave traders, just random wasteland a-holes selling drugs. We sort out the problem without violence, and pay them for some information on who actually has the girl. We go to the next place they point us to, a mole rat ranch. The exact same interaction takes place again, with Pizza Cutter demanding to go in and shoot everyone. We decide on the same play as before, and surprise, surprise, the rancher isn't involved either. He points us to a dive bar where he thinks the girl's being held. This time, we all go in together. Having decided to try and bluff our way in, we invite Pizza Cutter to go in, suggesting that we first talk this over before we try anything violent. We want him there in case things go bad, and because we're kind of feeling sorry for the guy, being left outside while the rest of us do stuff. Big mistake. Guess what? He goes in, demands to know where the girl is, and shoots the bartender. All of us are going, what the flock, dude? We talked about this. Big fight ensues, and is a lot more dicey than usual since we didn't have time to prepare or deploy ourselves. My very squishy cleric is right next to an enemy and gets down to half health before he manages to get away and behind some cover. The Bard is right in the firing line of about 3 different enemies. The Alchemist is being shot at by everyone and nearly goes down. It's a mess. We win eventually, and my character turns to Pizza Cutter. What in Adam's name was that? You just shot them for no reason.
You took me inside.
He intones. Are you just some animal? You just attack on sight?
You took me inside, I kill everyone.
What do you— Bang! Roll 20 refreshes. The DM had booted the guy out of the game, end Discord, and that was the end of Pizza Cutter. All edge and no point.
Edge. Edge never changes. Bwah, bwah, bwah.
Jokes aside, this does sound like a really cool campaign. I personally ran my own Fallout-style campaign using Numenera's cipher system. Had a lot of options for push and pull, and you really got that feeling of trying to survive when all your stats are constantly decreasing. So it was a lot of fun. As for Pizza Cutter, though, seems like he played this game like Fallout 76, and not Fallout New Vegas, and learned the hard way when you mess with the party. Well, the house always wins. Anyway, on to the next story. This next story is about an awful DM that leads to a one-day D&D experience. I was 22 years old when I experienced my first D&D campaign. I've always been into the fantasy genre and was intrigued by what a role-playing experience would be like. I had 3 online friends who decided to give D&D 5e a try, and it was a very enjoyable experience. However, due to schedules, we never got to play much, and we stopped after 5 sessions. A year later, I joined a D&D Discord to look for a campaign, and found an interesting one. I was a bit nervous to play with a group of strangers, but was also excited to meet new people and play D&D again. The DM said there was an opening, and I was invited to a separate group chat. Here's when the red flags began. Organization was a mess. The campaign was promised to be 20-plus-year-olds, but there was an added teenager to the group. He was about 16 or 17. We were friendly and welcoming, as there are mature teenagers out there, but this one was not. He sent lots of NSFW images in the Discord, spammed PMs to us for our story/character sheets, and much more. But he's a whole other story. The DM, when we first brought it up to him, just said, deal with it. I told him he can join, so I can't back out of my words. And he would just laugh at the NSFW images, knowing how it made some of us uncomfortable. So he's already lying about the original eligibility of the group, and lacks empathy to the members. Red flag 1. Our first session then kept getting delayed. The DM apparently doesn't have a job, and so he needs to ask his girlfriend for money to buy a laptop for the session. Unnecessary details, but here was red flag number 2, showing how unprepared this was. However, all of us were understanding, as IRL can definitely be stressful. Our first session finally began a few weeks later. I reused my first character, a tiefling female barbarian with very tanky stats. There were 6 of us in total, including the DM. I was the only female in the group. First thing off the bat when I introduced myself, the DM said, "Dang, now that we're in voice call, it's more obvious. You're the only female and surrounded by ducks. Welcome to the Sausage Fest, right, fellas?" Sounds like someone's taking advice from the Lover's Guide to D&D. Seeing as he was trying to joke, yeah, sure, we can call it that, I let it slide, as I didn't want to bring awkwardness at the start of the session. But who in the hell says that to the only female of a group? No one else in the group, except the teenager, laughed along with him, and we moved on quickly. But let's just say that the start of this session already set off an ominous feeling for me. The game starts with us arriving in a town and meeting at a tavern. All of the other members were kind. We eventually grouped, and we were headed out to our first quest: defeat some bandits. As we travel to the bandits' hideout, we start to develop a plan. The DM interrupts us at this time to provide an idea. He says, "Why don't you guys just have Riss," my character, "run up ahead into the open fields? You know, like, oh my god, I'm just a damsel who is so lonely out here." Oh, don't mind me, I'm just gagging in my mouth. We were at a loss for words at his interruption and plan. Luckily, one member eventually spoke up and said, "She's literally our strongest and most menacing character within the group. Why would this work?" And the DM said, "'Cause guys are horned." I simply said, "No, we are not doing that." But in my mind, I was already done. There's more awful occurrences during this time, but we'll touch on that later. The D&D session ended about an hour or 2 later after we fought the bandits. Throughout the fight, I would be attacked due to reasons that I was female, and the bandits wanted to kidnap me, which all of us began to be more vocal against. He would just roll his eyes and say, "Whatever." He also rushed the fight because his smoking hot girlfriend would be there soon, so he needs it to end. Keep in mind, he was in his 30s and was the oldest member in the group, yet he acted probably the most childish of us all, equivalent or less than the teenager. Looping back to the occurrences I mentioned, the DM constantly called the members the R-slur. He was also eating and slurping as he narrated, which was probably one of the most disgusting things I ever heard to this day, and still brings back bad memories. Granted to say, multiple members and I left after that one day. The DM's response was just, "Okay, y'all just don't get my humor," as he kicked us all out of the group chat. I have not played much D&D since then, but hoping to find a close group of friends to try again. How does someone make it to 30 and come out like that? To user It's Risica, I am so sorry. And good luck in your search for your next game. You can search for your own next game here on our new LFG channel on our Discord. That way, at least if it turns into a horror story, I can cover it right after. So there you go, win-win. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. And if you did, be sure to leave a like on the video, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as we, as of this recording, have just come up to 700 subscribers. We're almost there, burbs. Just 300 away from monetization.
Give me my money, Susan!
So be sure to put the word out. Anyway, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. As the crow flies.